Most leaders don't burn out because they work too hard. If you feel an urge to cut everyone off, you're not antisocial, you're overexposed. In this video, you'll see the 4 hidden boundary failures that quietly destroy your authority. And the moment that access becomes expected, authority begins to erode. Quietly, predictably, and almost invisibly. Toward the end, there's one boundary shift that quietly triples your authority without a single confrontation. Picture a senior manager in their early 40s. Reliable, calm under pressure, known as the steady one. Their calendar is full but not chaotic. Meetings flow, Slack messages never stop. People trust them, people rely on them, people loop them in. At first, this feels like leadership. Then something changes. Decisions begin to slow. Not because the problems are complex, but because every choice now carries emotional weight. Someone will disagree, someone will feel excluded, someone will need reassurance. Late at night, they replay conversations instead of planning moves. Mornings start with messages instead of priorities. Nothing explodes. Nothing collapses. There is just a growing sense of internal resistance. And eventually the thought appears, quietly, I need to disappear for a while. Psychologically, this pattern is not antisocial behavior. It is boundary failure under sustained social load. Research on decision fatigue shows that cognitive performance declines as emotional and interpersonal demands increase. The brain does not separate people problems from strategic thinking. Both require energy, both create strain. Another well-documented effect is role entanglement. When leaders simultaneously act as listeners, validators, mediators, and emotional stabilizers, authority diffuses. Direction turns into maintenance. This is why smart leaders don't cut everyone off suddenly. They withdraw after these 4 psychological signs appear. And sign number 1 will shock you. Studies on leadership cognition consistently show that excessive accessibility increases hesitation, not empathy. And hesitation is where decision power quietly leaks out. This is why people don't cut others off suddenly. They withdraw after clarity erodes. 4 psychological signs you need stronger boundaries. 1. You hesitate because of reactions, not risk. If your decision-making slows primarily because you are anticipating emotional responses, the issue is not strategy, it's exposure. Leaders with weak boundaries pre-negotiate internally. Who will push back? Who will feel sidelined? Who will need explanation? This delay isn't collaboration, it's loss of tempo. In behavioral psychology, the person who controls tempo controls interaction. When others influence your timing, they influence outcomes. If you notice that almost every decision feels heavier because of how others might react, that's a warning sign that your boundaries are stretched too thin. 2. Your availability is treated as a resource. When access is healthy, it is requested. When access becomes a liability, it is assumed. Meetings appear without notice. Messages arrive without context. Emotional dumping becomes casual. Your time is no longer protected because it has been normalized. This is where power flips quietly. You stop choosing engagement and start maintaining it. Maintenance drains authority because it requires consistency, explanation, and emotional exposure. The very thing that makes you effective, the ability to respond deliberately, turns into a tool others control. 3. Distance feels socially wrong, but nervously right. This contradiction is critical. Guilt comes from conditioning. Relief comes from regulation. Neuroscience research on stress regulation shows that reduced social input lowers baseline cortisol, even when people report initial discomfort. The nervous system recovers before social beliefs adjust. That's why the urge to withdraw often appears during clarity, not crisis. You feel fine logically, but your nervous system is signaling enough. Step back. This is not laziness. It's a subconscious form of self-preservation. 4. You are emotionally readable, and that's costing you. Emotional transparency is praised, encouraged, rewarded. But legibility has a downside. When people can read you easily, they can predict you. When they can predict you, they can interrupt you. When they can interrupt you, they can slow you. Predictable leaders are manageable leaders. People who cut everyone off are often reacting to the realization that being emotionally accessible has become a strategic disadvantage. They realize that constant openness has shifted from connection to control loss. But here's where it gets interesting. Total withdrawal feels powerful, but it backfires in one predictable way most leaders never see. Why cutting everyone off feels powerful, but backfire? Total withdrawal feels decisive because pressure disappears instantly. No reactions to manage. No expectations to regulate. No emotional labor. But psychologically, disappearance is unstable. Power is not built through absence. It's built through controlled proximity. When leaders isolate without structure, the nervous system swings between relief and disconnection. The result is often a rebound, oversharing, emotional reentry, or sudden accessibility. The problem was never people. It was uncontrolled access. Cutting everyone off might seem powerful. It might even feel like liberation. But without a system, withdrawal creates more chaos than clarity. The boundary shift that actually creates authority. Strong boundaries are not emotional decisions. They are mechanical systems. They don't require confrontation. They don't require explanation. They require consistency. 1. Response control. You stop responding according to urgency created by others. Behavioral studies on status signaling show that immediate response reduces perceived authority, while consistent delay increases it. Without hostility, you answer when it is clean to answer, not when pressure demands it. Tempo reverses, others adjust. When others anticipate your responses instead of controlling them, your influence grows naturally. 2. Information discipline. You stop narrating your thinking. Oversharing is not transparency, it is expectation management, and expectation invites interference. Research on influence dynamics shows that the more people know about your internal process, the more they feel entitled to shape it. Silence removes entitlement. You let results speak instead of reasoning. Your actions carry weight, your voice carries authority, and others can no longer preempt your decisions. 3. Emotional containment. You stop processing emotions publicly. Constant venting creates dependency loops. Comfort, advice, validation. These loops weaken authority by externalizing regulation. When emotion becomes contained, ambiguity appears. Others cannot tell if you are pleased or displeased, affected or indifferent. This uncertainty introduces caution. Caution reshapes behavior. People tread carefully around leaders who are selective with their emotional exposure. This is not coldness. It is strategy. It is authority made visible through self-regulation. Emotional resolution. Why withdrawal triggers resistance. When boundaries strengthen, people react. They call it distance. They call it ego. They call it arrogance. These labels are not diagnoses. They are protests. Most people don't miss you when you withdraw. They miss the version of themselves that existed when they had access to your attention, affirmation, and emotional labor. When that access disappears, they feel smaller. Resistance is not proof of wrongdoing. It is evidence of lost influence. Strong boundaries don't make you cold. They make you selective. And selectivity is not rejection. It is regulation. People who cut everyone off are not broken. They are overexposed. Isolation is not the solution. Authority is. Real power is not built by adding people to your life. It is built by subtracting access. Ask yourself one question. Where are you explaining yourself when silence would be stronger? Strong boundaries allow leaders to preserve mental energy, maintain clarity, and increase influence. They transform availability from a liability into a controlled resource. They shift interactions from reactive maintenance to strategic engagement. Leaders who master boundaries discover that authority is less about doing everything and more about selectively being present. Every time you say no to unstructured demands, you say yes to deliberate action. Every time you stop explaining unnecessarily, you reclaim decision space. Every time you contain emotion, you introduce subtle power into your presence. This is why people who cut everyone off feel relief, but rarely power. The relief is temporary. True influence is sustainable, measured, and quiet. Boundaries are not barriers. They are frameworks. Frameworks that preserve your focus, amplify your authority, and ensure your energy is spent where it matters. When you establish clear, consistent boundaries, you discover a paradox. The fewer people who have access to you, the greater your influence over the ones who do. And that is the secret behind the psychology of people who cut everyone off. It's not about disconnection. It's about control, clarity, and the selective investment of your attention. If this helped you see your situation more clearly, subscribe for more psychology-driven breakdowns like this. In the next video, we'll examine how group dynamics quietly destroy decision quality in leadership environments, without anyone noticing until it's too late.